Haboim, welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Tes Amud Aleph, 7 lines from the top. We learned previously in regards to the malacha of Hoitzo on Shabbos, if we take an object from the Rishus HaYochid, the Rishus HaRabim, or vice versa, the amount that a person has to then take in order to be chayiv a malacha deraisa of Hoitzo of wine is a revis. The Gemara now discusses what happens when that revis of wine is congealed, it's hardened. What is the shir, what is the amount to be chayiv for the malach of hoitzo? Says the Gemara, bring the following brayso tani, it's taught, Yavesh kezayis, div Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Nosson says that if you take the wine that is a revis and it's congealed, it's dried up, and it then has the amount as a solid to be a kezayis, that will mechayiv a person from meleches hoitzo. Rabbanon de Kesari, Rabbi Yosi bar Bivi b'shem Shmuel, Asya de Rabbi Nosson keRabbi Shimon. They said that Rabbi Nosson is like the opinion of Rabbi Shimon. Kama, how much? The Rabbi Shimon Omar b'revis, Kain Omar Rabbi Nosson b'revis, the kishayikrash v'hei bo kezayis. Unlike Rabbi Yehuda, who said the amount of wine that is undiluted to be taken out from meleches hoitzo is a revis, meaning to say it's really 1 part wine and 3 parts water. It means that that's diluted. If it's undiluted, then it's only going to be 1 part of 4 of wine. Here we're saying it has to be a completely revis of wine that's undiluted. That's the sheet of Rabbi Shimon that says that it's going to be a full revis, and therefore would come out to be, says Rabbi Nosson, that when that is congealed, it's a kezayis. Kama, the Gemara asks, the Rabbi Shimon Omar b'revis, Kain Omar Rabbi Nosson b'revis, the kishiyikrash v'ebo kezayis. Says the Gemara weiter. The Gemara now, agav, what we just spoke about in terms of the revis. Now they're going to be speaking about another topic about a revius of dam. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Simon b'shem Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Maisa b'firdas Rabbi Shemesa. There's a Maisa that took place that Rebbe's in his household, they owned a mule, and that mule died. V'tiharu es damoy mishum nevela. And they were metaher the dam of this dead mule as nevela. In other words, they held that the dam of the nevela over here is not metame. Now, we have to understand, when it comes to the amount of dam nevela that is metame, according to those who say that dam nevela is metame, so it would have to be a revis. So maybe he means it's short of a revis. Or like the other opinion says that even when it comes to dam, no matter what the amount is not metame. Because when it comes to the basar of nevela, so the basar is metame. What about the other things like the sinews and such? Those things are not metame. So how do we compare dam to? Is it like the basar, or is it like the sinews? So there's 2 different views. One that says that it's compared to the basar, says therefore it is metame, but it requires a revis. The other that says that the dam is not metame like basar, but rather like sinews, so then it's not going to be metame no matter how much the amount of dam there is. So, says the Gemara, the Shah of Rabbi Eliezer es Reb Simon. He asked Reb Simon, who said in his name Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi again, that he said before, named Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, that it is tahor because of nevela. So the question is, what did he mean? So he asked, ad kama, how much? V'lo ashkach bei. Now, he wanted to understand, did it mean because of it was chaser revis, or even if it's more than a revis, it's not metame. V'shol Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi v'amalei. And then he asked Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and he said to him, ad revis tahor, yoiser revis tame. He says, until a revis, less than a revis, is still tahor, more than a revis is tame. In other words, over here, he holds that indeed that it is tameh like basar, but it was less, this amount of the blood of this nevela together, this pool of blood was less than a revis, and therefore they were mitaher. Uboash Rabbi Elazar al deloy chazer le Rabbi Simon shmuasa. Rabbi Elazar was bothered, he perturbed, that Rabbi Simon did not answer him in his question. In other words, Rabbi Simon said the din in the name of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. So he certainly knew the reason. So he was upset. Why didn't he give him the reason that Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi him just said before, that it was not a revis? Rabbi Bihava Yosef Masni Hadain Uvda. It says Rabbi, he was sitting and he taught the same exact uvda. In other words, what was said about the mule in Rabbi's household who then died and they were matahired. He said that over. Omar le Rabbi Yitzchok bar Kahane ad revis tor yoser mikan tome. He asked him, is it because until the revis it's tor, but more than that would be tome? In other words, he was trying to feel out again, what is the reason for the tahara over here? Is it aleph, again, because over here we're talking about where it was not a revi'is of dam, but if it would be a revi'is of dam, it would be tameh? Or that doesn't make a difference, the kamus, the amount, because anyways, the dam is not metame. Uboat bey, and he treated him disrespectfully. Literally means he kicked him, but it means that he treated him disrespectfully. Or malei Rabbi Zriko, begin the shol loch at boit bey, because he asked you a question in halacha, whether it's less than a revi'is, and that's why it was tahor, or more than a revi'is. He didn't understand. Why are you treating him disrespectful for a question that he asked? Omar lei, he said, begin the loyhava daiti bibi itna be. I only treated him this way not because of his question, but because of my own lack of yishuv hadas. And he explains, Domer Rav Chanan, it says in the pasuk, the entire pasuk reads as follows: V'hoyu chayecha tluyim locha. Here it says in the Toichacha, in Sefer Dvarim Parshas Ki Savoy, it says, you will behold, your lives will be in limbo, it will be hanging, mineged, upachtecha layla v'yoymam, and you will be in a state of fright at night and during the day. V'lo samim b'chayecha, and you will not have any emun, any trust in your own life. So now the Gemara darshans this pasuk, and this is going to be the justification why he acted in this way. Says the Gemara, bring the first part of the pasuk as follows. It says, "V'hoyu chayecha tluim lecha mineged." Your lives will be hanging in limbo. Zeh shelokeach chitim l'shana. Somebody who has to purchase the chitim, the wheat that he's going to eat for the following year. So maybe he won't have so much money to be able to purchase for the following year, or maybe even it will go up in value. The next part of the pasuk says, and you will be in fright at night and during the day. So this is somebody who then purchases somebody who's a merchant, and therefore he has to then buy his wheat for every once in a while. So that also brings it even more of a lachatz, because maybe he won't have the money to then buy that wheat, and maybe it will go up in price. The latter part of the pasuk says, and you will not have trust in your life. This is somebody who has to buy bread from the baker. And even still, this is like a daily type of buying of the wheat of his bread, which is causing even more of a lachatz. And he says, I myself have to rely on this last stage of palter because I'm so dochuk. And therefore I didn't have yishuv adas to answer him. But that's not because he asked the question. It was only because of my own shortcomings. Umahu kidoin. So what is taka, the din over here? What he asked before regards to the blood of the nevela, that which they were metaher in the household of Rebbe, was that because it's less than a revis? Or even if it was more than a revis, because the dam of nevela is not metame? Hey, Rabbi Yoshua ben Petura, al dam nevela shu tohor. He was made that dam nevela, no matter what the amount is tohor. Ma'u tohor. What's meant that it's tohor? Tohor melahachshir avaletamois metame. Gemara says, that which it says tor meant to say that it's only tor to be machshir. In other words, the sheva, the 7 different liquids that allow something to be susceptible to tuma, one of them is dam. But if it's dam nevela, then it's not included. But it is metame. The Gemara asks on that, are you saying that so? Tamun taninam. Tamun taninam, there we taught the following. Dam asheretz kibesoroi. Metame ve'eno machshir. The dam, the sheretz, is like its bosar. And it is metame. And it's not machshir. Ve'en lonu keyoitze boy. And the rest of the Mishnah goes on to say, and we don't have anything different. We don't have anything like that. In other words, it's the sheretz that specifically has, that it's going to have the basar that is metame, that is not machshir. Mashma, that is only the sheretz that's not machshir. Right? But in regards to the other, nevela, it would be. And therefore, v'shir, it says v'shir tumasoy shedama metame kibisoro. No, what it means is that when it says it's kiyoytze boy, it means that the amount of the blood to be metame is not like the amount of the sheretz, which is an adosha. Just like the sheretz, the boss of the sheretz is an adosha, minatara, that's metame. So to the dam minatara is metame ke'adosha. That's unique by the sheretz, and that's what's meant over here when it says in this Mishnah, dam sheretz kibesoroi metame ve'eno machshir ve'en lono ki yotze boy. Rabbi Yossi Peligi botrein amoroim. There are 2 different amoroim who argue about this. Chad amar tami v'chad amar tor. One says that the dam of a nevela is tahor. The other one said is tamei. Man damar tamei ki Rabbi Yehuda. The one who says it's tamei is like Rabbi Yehuda. Uman damar tahor ki Rabbi Yeshua ben Petura. And the one who says that it's tahor is like Rabbi Yeshua ben Petura. Omar le Rav Avduma the mint nechusa v'yeyus. He says, indeed, it is very good, very well how you explained it. The Rabbi Yehuda Maraino the Bei Nesia Hava. Rabbi Yehuda indeed was the one who would paskin halachos in the household of Rebbe, and therefore when he said that the dam of the nevela is tor, he must have said it's only because it doesn't have a revisive dam, because we just said that Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that the dam of the nevela is indeed tamei, and therefore the only reason why he was matar is because it's not doesn't have the amount of a revis. The Gemara now quotes the Mishnah. The Seif of our Mishnah states that the one who's in charge of making the truma, making the truma of the lishka, the withdrawal of the machzis hashekel, when he goes in to do so, so we're very concerned that he should not be suspect of stealing from the shkolim, and therefore we say he has to wear clothing that don't have a double hem, that he can't hide shkolim there. We go on to say that also he can't wear shoes or sandals, so he shouldn't hide the shkolim there. The Gemara now brings a brisa that includes other things, other precautionary measures to make sure that we don't go ahead and suspect him. The Mishnah went on to say that if indeed he were to become poor afterwards, then we would suspect that maybe it's because he then was somebody, because of his stealing, caused him to have poverty. In other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu punished him. Mida keneged mida. He came and stole, therefore he lost his money. Or maybe he became wealthy afterwards, and we'll suspect that it's because he stole the shkolim, and that's made him wealthy. Al kol panim, we make all types of precautionary measures to ensure that he did not steal from the lishka. Says the Gemara, Tani, we've read the following brisa, Rabbi Shmuel taught, kavutz lo yitro mipnei chashad. Somebody who has long hair, he shall not be tarem because of a chashad. He should not hide the shkolim in his long locks. Tani, it's taught in brisa, hagizborin hoyu mefaspesin bekilkin. It says the gizborim, they would be careful to then check the woolen garments, that there shouldn't be any places in between that might have then been crunched up to be able to hide coins, and therefore they would spread open all of those woolen garments. Tani, it's taught in the Brisa, Medabrin hayu imo b'shah shehu nichnas, asher shu shoyotze. They would speak to him from the time that he enters, the time that he would leave, so that he could not hide any shkolim in his mouth. Ask the Gemara, vayimole pume miloi. Why does they then put water in his mouth? So they should have water, a mouth filled with water, whereby he won't be able to put anything in his mouth. Says the Gemara, the reason is because since he has to make a bracha prior to then making the truma, be mafrish the truma, asher kidishonu b'mitzvah v'sivonu lahafrish truma, therefore he cannot go ahead and have something in his mouth, namely liquid, namely water. So therefore they would speak to him from the time that he would enter to the time that he would exit to ensure that nothing was being put in his mouth. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman b'shem Rabbi Yonasan b'Torah uba nevim uba ksuvim motzanu she'odom tzorich latzeis yidei habriyos kedei shehu tzorich latzeis yidei hamokon. A person, we learn both from Torah, nevim, and kesuvim, that a person has to be careful not to be suspect, not only in the eyes of Hashem, but also in the eyes of human beings. B'Torah minayim, from where do we know the source of the Torah? Dichsiv, it says in the Pasuk, V'yisem nekim me Hashem u'misrael, you shall be innocent from Hashem and also from Klal Yisrael. Here it's talking about when the Shvatim of Gad and Gad and Reuven and Chetzi Shevet Menashe want to remain in the Ever LaYarden, not enter Eretz Yisrael. So Moshe Rabbeinu said that so long as you will be in Koivesh, you'll be in the front lines when we will battle the Knainim, so that you will not be suspect not only in the eyes of Hashem, but also in the eyes of people. So this is the source. B'ksuvim minayim. What do we know from ksuvim? The Stephen says I skipped. Nevim minayim. From nevim, where do we know the source? The Stephen says in the Pasuk. I'll read the Pasuk in its entirety. Kel Elokim Hashem. Kel Elokim Hashem. Hu yoideya. V'Yisrael hu yeda. Im b'mered im b'moal b'Hashem al toshenu hayom hazeh. Here it's saying that also in regards to those 2.5 shvatim that stayed in the Ever LaYarden, they built a big mizbeach. So the other shvatim wanted to wage war because they saw that they were rebelling. L'chara seemed to be rebelling by serving idols and this big mizbeach. On that, it states this pasuk: Kel Elokim Hashem, Kel Elokim Hashem. It says, Hu yoideya. Hashem knows. And this is now saying the Yisrael hu yeda. And Yisrael shall also know. Im b'mered mima'al b'Hashem. If we were rebellious or did something against Hashem, al toshienu hayom hazeh, we shall not be saved on this day. This is when the Shvatim then brought to check before they waged war on the Bnei Gad, Reuven, Chetzi Shevet Menashe, to ensure that they weren't done building this Mizbech and Avodah Zarah, to which the response was what we just said, this that Hashem knows and Yisrael shall know. The third source, the Gemara says, B'ksuvim minayin, Desiv u'mitzachein v'seichel toiv b'einei Elokim v'odam. And he shall find favor and proper knowledge, proper seichel, in the eyes of Elokim and Adam. Ask the Gemara, Gamliel Zuga Shal Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Bun, Ezehu HaMechuvar Shebekulam, which is the choicest of all three sources that show most clearly that one should be innocent in the eyes of people as well, in the same vein as he's supposed to be innocent in the eyes of Hashem. Omar Lei, he's responded, the first one, Visem Nikim Me Hashem Mi Yisrael. The other ones are not necessarily as clear, because the second one, when it comes to the Ksuvim, the Nevim, there it's talking about a specific case of Avodah Zarah. But how do you know in regular mundane matters that indeed one should be careful not only to be innocent in the eyes of Hashem, but also to be innocent in the eyes of Adam? And the third source, the Ksuvim, is very general. That's talking about where a person should find Chain and Motzi Chain and Seichel Toiv in the eyes of people as well as Hashem. So that's also very general. We don't necessarily, that's including these type of things of monetary matters and other mundane acts. That's specifically talking about being innocent not just being moitzei chen. And therefore, we have the source from the Torah itself. V'yisem nikim me Hashem u'mi Yisrael.